introducing someone like Jerry Pinto, who is someone who wears a lot of hats, right? He's a poet, he's a novelist, he's a journalist, and he's a translator. Most of us would remember him as the name on the purple cover of his famous debut novel called M and the Big Hoom, which earned widespread acclaim and even went on to win the Sahitya Akademi Award, among many other accolades. His next novel, which was Murder in Mahim, won the Value of Words Award for fiction, and his third novel, The Education of Yuri, has been published to near universal acclaim. But most of Mr. Pinto's recent work has been as a translator. He's been the means by which works from Marathi, such as Cobalt Blue by Sachin Kundalkar, Daya Pawar's Baluta, and Ganesh Matkari's Half Opened Windows, to name a very few of a vast repertoire, have reached a global audience. So, most recently, he has translated Swadesh Deepak's autobiography titled I Have Not Seen Mandu from Hindi to English, and this is particularly significant to us as readers from Madhya Pradesh. His first Konkani translation was Boy Unloved by Damodar Maso. It is clear that Mr. Pinto chooses the works that he translates with the greatest care because he picks marginalized voices and social experiences over saleability. And this makes him and the works that he translates doubly important for us as subcontinental readers as well. His work in nonfiction is equally illustrious. He has won the National Award for Best Writing in Cinema for his analysis of Helen, the life and times of a Bollywood H-bomb. Between 2002 and 2024, Mr. Pinto sat on the board of Mail which works in the sphere of child rights. He is now on the board of the People's Free Reading Room and Library and the Women's Archive called Sparrow. Besides all of this, he has taught journalism at the Sophia Polytechnic, Mumbai, for more than 30 years. So, in addition to all of this, there is much more. But I believe that Mr. Pinto's most remarkable aspect is how captivating he is as a speaker. And therefore, I will not hold you hostage to any more of my very trite words in his praise. And I will welcome Mr. Jerry Pinto to deliver his talk titled Life in Language.
Okay, thank you. We all live a life in language. We all live in words and language. And problem ye hai that it is often the English language. People gravitate towards the English language. They want to use the English language because they know that it is a language of power. It is a language of prestige. If you can speak English well, then doors open for you. You'll probably get a better job, that sort of thing. So I say,
yeah? Say it's better with this.
Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll begin again. Shall I begin again? Okay. So fundamentally the idea is, what happens to us is that we become like people who eat only one dish every day. So samjho, life is a buffet. And you can read in your mother language, that's one dish. You can read in English, that's one dish. You can read in Hindi, that's one dish. But every day you read in English. So I say English is a Devi in a temple. Or ek haath mein, she has a pair of red hot pliers. And she wants you to open your mouth and she will pull out your matrubhasha. She will take away your mother language from you. And in the other hand, she has a green card. And that is what she will give you as prasad, the green card. So I'm asking you to live your life like someone who will go to imagine a man who goes every day to a buffet where there are 50 dishes and each day he only eats the chicken masala or the veg korma if you're vegetarian. Okay? Every day he eats the veg korma. There are many dishes, but he eats the veg korma every day. That is what happens to us. We become readers in only one language. and the other languages slip away. We think right now that our languages are safe. They are not. We have in this country, I once asked Dr. G.N. Devi, Ganesh Devi, who had just finished the Linguistic Survey of India, which he brought out in 28 volumes. And I asked him, how many languages are there in the country, sir? And he said 1,537, but we haven't finished counting. Now, each of these 1,537 languages is our amanat. You do not get a language as a gift. You get it as an amanat. And you have to hand it over to the next generation. That is what your parents did with you. They gave you language by talking to you in that language, by singing in the language to you, lullabies. They taught you your religion in that language. They taught you about your family in that language. Now, everybody in that family is auntie and uncle. The definitions and descriptions with which we talked about our families are going. We call our mother mom. We call our father dad. And everyone else is uncle and auntie. So we are in danger of losing our languages. So I'm telling you, if you have been reading in English all along, that's fine. Not a problem. But also read in your Matrabhasha. Because that will bring back a certain way of looking at the world that is not there in only English. So that's why I started translation. I got lucky, I have to say. If you have read anything about me, you will know that my mother had a mental problem called bipolarity. And I wrote a novel about it called M and the Big Hoom. ये तो हिंदी में भी अनुवाद हुआ है, एम और हुम साहब, और मराठी में भी एम आणि हुम राव. After that, I got an award from the Americans, who are very good at giving awards. They gave me a lot of money. Meaning a lot of money means एक बार मुझे $100,000 मिला, right? So I decided that this is actually my passport to doing things that have no money in them. Because if the universe gives you something, I think it is good for us to give something back, right? So that's what freed me to do translation. Because I didn't have to now worry about earning a living. So I started translating. And the second book I translated was something called Baluta by Daya Pawar. Put up your hands if you've heard of Baluta. एक दो मराठी लोक बन येत नाही तुम्हाला. Okay. In 1978, December 25, 1978, Daya Pawar made us all a gift. He gave us a gift. Okay. He wrote the first Dalit autobiography. In 2016, when I was settling down to read it, I discovered that it had not been translated. So I went to Daya Pawar's daughter. He himself sadly had passed on. वो तो गुजर गया था. लेकिन I went and met his daughter, and she said, "There's no reason why you can't translate it. Go ahead and do it." So I worked for 1 year on the translation, and I got paid 20,000 rupees for that translation for 1 year's work. Now you'll say, but that's hardly any money. You got paid like 2,000 rupees a month. And this is the reason why. It is because if you have money, you go out and buy English books. You don't buy books in Marathi. You don't buy books in Hindi. You don't buy books in translation. You don't buy books in general. And if you don't buy books, you can't have writers. And you can't have language. It's as simple as that. Your generation prefers coffee over books. You will spend 300 rupees at a coffee shop to buy one coffee and one cake. वो कल सारा कॉफी और केक उतर जाएगा बदन से, nothing will be left, but you will not buy a book. Now I want you to imagine that your mind, okay, is a maidan. And it's a lovely maidan, but it is a khali maidan. When you read a book, what is happening is you are sowing seeds as you read. You're throwing seeds over your shoulder. 10 years later, you will look back at the Maidan and वो मैदान नहीं रहा, वो जंगल हो गया है. एक जंगल है वहाँ. It is the jungle of ideas. You can walk through that jungle and pluck ideas, your own ideas, from the trees as you go. This is called the ideas economy. In our time, it will not be land, it will not be gold that makes you money. It is ideas. The richest men in the world have made their money right now on ideas. Jeff Bezos with Apple. Bill Gates with the idea that we should make just icons on the front of a computer. उस पे click करो and computer will start हो जाएगा. You can't imagine what a change it was from when we started working on computers. हमें computer language सीखना था पहले. You had to write code to start the computer. You had to put a card to put in and start the computer. He removed all this with the simple idea कि लोगों को आज़ादी दो. एक mouse दो हाथ में, click करो, computer start हो जाएगा. That's the whole of Microsoft Word's great, huge, multi-billion dollar success is based on this one single idea. Google search, the algorithm for Google search is imaginary. There is no way where there is Google search in a little pond or in a field or in a jungle. It happened in his brain, but that brain had to be made ready. And in all these, in all the stories, whether you read Steve Jobs' story or you read Bill Gates' story, you will find it was a library that began it. You all have library cards. You all ignore the library. जिम जाते हो ताकि शरीर मजबूत हो जाए. मन के बारे में सोचा है कभी? Mind library, mind gym is the library. That's where you get to exercise your brain. Decide right now what you want to do with the rest of your life. Everybody will say, मुझे successful बनना है. I want to be a world beater. I want to be the best at whatever I do. Okay, great. Let me give you the sadhan. Let me give you the tool for being the best at what you want to do. There was a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers. Now, अगर मैं देबोलीना होता, if I was a good teacher, I would tell all of you, please go and read the book and come back and tell me how these people became so successful. But I'm a bad teacher. I know you will not read the book. Because last time when did you read a book? कितने बरस गए? You have not touched a book, which is not a textbook. So I will tell you the answer also. The answer is very simple. 10,000 hours. If you want to be a dancer, you have to do 10,000 hours of dance. And then you'll be one of the top 5% of the world's greatest dancers. You want to be a writer, you write 10,000 hours and you will be, and it sounds easy na, 10,000 hours, उसमें क्या है? Maths करो. Simple basic maths. Suppose you are supposed to do riyaz for 2 hours a day. For your dance or for your singing or for your writing or for whatever you're doing. At 2 hours a day, 13 साल लगेगा. You'll wait? 13 years? No. 13 years? How old are you? 19. You'll wait till you're 32? Nahi na. Success should happen today. Tomorrow, I should go out and be a success. Now, therefore, okay, up it. 4 hours a day. 6.5 hours. But 4 hours a day, every day. Every day. Our Hindustani classical music, our Carnatic classical music was so good because Riyaz started at 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 baje utke, Asgari Bai was taken out into the cold and made to sing just Sa. Nothing else. For 1 year she sang Sa. She got bored of it. She told her teacher, I can't sing Sa anymore, give me something else. He beat her with a stick and made her sing Sa again. Because when she would go on stage, his reputation went with her. Everyone knows whose shagird ga raha hai. Agar wo, if she sings badly, Guru ka naam aayega. So he's not letting her get on stage until she's totally ready. She does her 10,000 hours. She becomes Asgari Bhai. We want success, but we don't want work. And if you are mind workers, all of you are mind workers. Whether you're doing you're doing your biology honors, or you're doing your history honors, or you're doing English literature, you have chosen to work with your mind. And this means it is a privilege. ये सबको नहीं मिलता है. Literacy is a privilege. Literacy is a privilege. And we say, I have young people come to me and say, I can't read these days. मैं पढ़ नहीं सकता हूँ. What do you mean you can't read? There are people who are not allowed to read. There was a time when some castes were forbidden from reading or learning. We have now been given this opportunity and we deliberately waste it. Your library card goes unused. Librarian तेरा शक्ल नहीं पहचानता है क्योंकि भूल से भी नहीं गए आप उसमें लाइब्रेरी में. Not you. Across the country, students have given up the idea of reading. And we wonder then how our national discourse becomes people shouting at each other. Because we are not used to listening. Reading, to read, is to listen to another person's mind. And you cannot listen to another person's mind without starting to talk to them back. When you're reading a book you agree with, it's fine. But when you're reading a book you disagree with, you start talking back to the author immediately. You're immediately arguing with him. You say, Arey, Gade, what do you think? No, I'm not like that, whatever. You just start talking back to the author. But that act of listening becomes an act of respect for another person's intellect and mind and zehen. His whole being you are respecting by listening. We don't listen. Because we don't read. And we don't read because we have been taught that to broadcast, to talk, that is the real work. This is not my work. My work as a writer is long hours of boring silence. मैं और मेरी तन्हाई अक्सर ये बातें करते हैं. And उसके बाद वहाँ से निकलता है the poem, the short story. But if I do not spend that time in silence, if I do not learn to listen to myself even, how will I get the words out onto the page? Writing is an act that slows you down. The mind moves at 1,000,000 miles a second. I can go from Earth to Mars in a thought, in a blink. The only thing faster than light is my mind. Anybody's mind. But then when I have to write, the fingers are not as fast as light. My age tells against me. I tire easily now. I'm nearly 60. So I have to discipline myself, which means I have to start my writing day the night before. And here is another message I am giving all of you. This. You love this more than you love your mother. Lies. मम्मी से जुदा होके आप यहाँ रह रहे हैं. ये आप अपना फोन मुझे दे दो और मैं अगर इसको ले लूं, you will not live without it more than an hour. I'm telling you. I once offered in my class, I said I will give you 10,000 rupees a day. Give me your phone. I will give you a Nokia in exchange. So you can call mummy daddy and tell them मैं ठीक ठाक हूँ, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन सर ने फोन लिया है. Everybody gave me their phone. For 10,000 rupees a day? Sure. No one lasted a day. 1 घंटे में they started saying, no sir, please give me my phone sir. So I have to check my WhatsApp sir. So I have to check this sir. So my Instagram feed sir. So my Snapchat में बात हो रहा है. So someone told me some game में PUBG खेल रहा था. This has happened on PUBG and I need my phone. You love your phone more than you love your parents. If you cannot accept this, if you think it is false, try to live a day without your phone. Take the phone, okay. Take the phone, put it in another room. And see how much work you get done then. See how much reading you will do. See how much you will write. That phone is a self-pleasuring device. You only seek it out because it gives you pleasure. If I look at your search history, it will be places to go in Bhopal, good spots to eat in Bhopal, cheap deals in Bhopal, Uber in Bhopal. Question mark? है क्या Uber? Swiggy in Bhopal. It's not going to have a meaning of postmodernism in Southeast Asian studies. That's not your search history. So, you can say, no, I love my mother much more than my phone. This young lady is saying, fine. मैं कौन हूँ? I am only judging your behavior. I can't judge your brain. And from your behavior, it is clear there is nothing more important in your life than your phone. Nothing. You think there is, हाँ, sure. कहने के लिए तो हम बहुत कुछ कह सकते हैं. No sir, I want to study hard sir, so I want to get a first class. Of course you want to get a first class, but you don't want to do the work for the first class. You want to go to the first class. Like that. Ta-dang. Like, and this is what Hindi films teach us. No, Lakshya. Suddenly, Hrithik Roshan decides that he will become an army officer. Da-da-da-down. Tak-tak-tak-tak-tak-tak-tak-tak bhagta hai. Ding-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding. He's exercising. There are already muscles there. क्या फेकू चंद है ये? Those muscles are already there. Agar he was like ढीला ढाला and he became muscular, I'd say, oh wow. But then he becomes in 30 seconds, 2 minutes, transformation is complete. Unfortunately, transformation from being ordinary Haryanvi boy to being superstar Haryanvi boy takes years. Years of saying, I will sleep at 10 o'clock. Lo baat. I came to hostel to sleep at 10 o'clock. वो तो मैं घर में भी कर सकता था. वो तो घर में होता ही है. दादाजी कहता है कौन बत्ती जला रहा है, बंद कर, अभी सोने का टाइम हो गया, 10 यहाँ दादाजी, phone inside cover, tak 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 tak, another 2 hours with phone, best friend, boyfriend, everyone, phone on chati and total happiness inside the kambhal. That is our life. So if you want to come to class bright and ready to absorb, And to become successful, you have to start by sleeping at 10 o'clock. That's boring. मैं college आया हूँ. And what is our impression of college before we come to college? Karan Johar, student of the year. Do they ever go to class in student of the year? Devolina Deb se bolo. Teachers se bolo, what is this? You want us to come to class and write and study? We came to dance. So, okay, get this. Success is fun, but getting to success is boring. It is hard work every day. Very few people want to do it. You want to do it right now. Right now you're listening to me and you're thinking, I will start my 10,000 hours, right? And I will start it tomorrow. Tomorrow. Today now I came here and all the way, then I have to go back all the way. And then there is evening, there is like little jashan in my room. We'll just have like, tomorrow I will start. And tomorrow we know never comes. So most people who are outstanding are safe because most people don't want to be outstanding. They don't want to be successful. They want actually to be successful, but they don't want to do the work. Okay. So a life in language is largely, I have to tell you, boys, girls, students, everyone, boring. बस काम करते जाओ, काम करते जाओ. From time to time, someone says, Bhopal aa jao. You say, yay! But you bring your work with you. So you get up in the morning at 4 o'clock and you work till 8 o'clock so that you can go out at 10 o'clock and have some fun. Choose. You can choose to be yourself and it'll be okay. Or you can choose to be outstanding, it'll be okay. And so far, there is no way other than reading that I can suggest. Whether you're science or whether you're economics honors or history, reading. Vakh Devi. We may be the only country in the world that has a language goddess. She is watching over you and thinking, क्या लोग हैं? ना अपनी भाषा बोलते हैं, ना वो गैर भाषा बोलते हैं. ना अंग्रेजी बोल पाते, ना हिंदी समझते, ना हिंदी पढ़ते, ना लाइब्रेरी जाते. Saraswati, I think, has given up. She has put down her veena and said, Lakshmi ji, आपका ही है ये. सब आपके भक्त हो गए. So, now if you have a question, put up your hand and I will be happy to take any questions you want. But first the students and uske baad the prod, the adults and first the students, because I came for the students. Chal, kuch bhi maar. Go ahead.
So nowadays our brain is so trained up, like if you study for like 45 minutes and then you're like done.
Absolutely. My brain also. My brain is 20 minutes. Seriously. My brain is 20 minutes and I'm saying done. Chalo bhai Instagram dekhte hain kaun kya post kar raha hai. Okay? And I do that. After 25 minutes, I take a break. I do something, but it's limited to 5 minutes and then I come back. Refreshed and I do another 20 minutes. Then I stop. I take another break. I go make myself coffee, elaborate process, fish, fush, 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 decoction, ye, wo, auntie, uncle. All my coffee is done and then I go back after 5 minutes. You can take breaks. No one is saying that you have to do this lagatar. But if you don't do it regularly, you don't do it enough, then you're not training. Imagine a player, a football player, a hockey player, or even a cricket player who didn't do nets. Bore hai rahe. जाके खेलूंगा ना. अरे select कर लो यार. It doesn't happen that way. Simple. Everybody has submitted, all of you have submitted bad work as assignments. So my students come to me and say, so I got only C+ on this assignment. What are you doing? I worked so hard. So I say, sit down. I say, you read that first. That assignment, you read it. Halfway through reading it, they say, I wrote it. I'm saying, you're already bored of your own writing? read on. They finish reading. Then I ask a loaded question. Is this your best work? If this is your best work, I'll give you an A. But have you given me your best work? Generally, there's a which is like the thing is like, hey, stop it, yeah, just give the A and shut up now. I don't want to talk about this best work and all. I'm saying this is your potential. This rubbish that you sent in is the best you can do, then I'll give you A. Fine, I'll give you A. Most people don't say yes. Because you know, the Indian graduate student towards the end of the year becomes a jungli billi, walking through the woods saying, notes kidhar hai notes, last year toppers का notes किधर है मेरे को दे, और उसी के साथ मैं पास हो जाऊंगा. टॉपर्स का नोट्स क्या है? I'll tell you what टॉपर्स का नोट्स है. मैं आपका सर बोरो कर सकता हूँ थोड़ी देर के लिए? Can I borrow your head? हाँ. This is our education system. मैं उसका दिमाग खोलता हूँ. कर 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 कर, ये पकड़. हाँ, पकड़ लिया ना. अभी मैं टैप खोलता हूँ. उसके बाद टर्म इज ओवर, आई क्लोज. कर 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 कर. उसके बाद नाक बंद. नाक बंद करने से क्या होता है? मुंह खोलता है. मुंह खोलो. और दैट इज क्या पकड़ता है इधर? इस वॉमिट को एग्जाम पेपर. ये एग्जाम पेपर है. इस एग्जाम पेपर का वॉमिट तुम अपने टीचर्स को दे रहे हो. टीचर्स करेक्ट कर रही है ऊपर से. ओके. नाउ when you are looking for last year's toppers notes, you are looking for vomit. That person's vomit, which you are lagaring and then vomiting again. Now your teacher has double vomit. And then you are appalled you got a C+. Ma'am, but I got last year's topper's notes and I wrote exactly what she wrote and I got C+. We should have failed you. But we didn't. We passed you because you and 80% of the class has been plagiarizing. So share notes, na? Hey, you got any notes on this? हाँ मेरे पास 3 पेज है. And then you go away with that 3 page thinking he had 10 pages. I know, he gave me only 3. Don't you think that? No. This is college life. And then we expect. So Narayan Murthy once said that the engineers of India, only 5% of the engineers of India who have engineering degrees are ready for work. So Azim Premji was asked, what do you think of it, what Mr. Narayan Murthy is saying? Azim Premji in his magnificent way said, he is an optimist. Okay. So I'm saying your choice about your life and your brain is made every day. Oh, Atomic Habits padha na. Everyone has read the book and then forgotten. You make a decision every day. Every day you make a decision about who you're going to be. When you stay up till 2 o'clock on Instagram and then go to class at 8 o'clock with very little sleep, you are saying, I want to be a bad student. That's what you're saying. That's what your behavior is saying. Your mouth is saying something else. No, sir, I want to work hard, sir. No, I want a first class degree, sir. You won't get a first class degree if you're going to go into class with 4 hours sleep, slightly almost falling asleep. You're not going to get it. So your behavior is not showing what you say you want. Simple. And all this you know, yeah. Bombay se aaya mera dost bolne ke liye. Who needs me to tell you this? You know it already. You just don't want to use it. वही तो ना. So you're tired after 25 minutes, 45 minutes, take a break. But come back again after 15 minutes. And do some more 45 minutes ka work. Okay, 30 minutes ka work. Again take a break. Again do 30 minutes ka work. Take a break. Do it. But keep going. You have to keep going. रुकने का नाम जिंदगी थोड़ी है ना. You had a question, ना? Yeah, go ahead.
थैंक यू सर. सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपने कहा कि आपको किताब पढ़नी चाहिए और टेक्नोलॉजी से थोड़ी दूर रहनी चाहिए. तो लेकिन सर इसके इस एनवायरनमेंट में ये इम्पॉसिबल है सर हमारे लिए, क्योंकि जब हम एपी में पढ़ते हैं हमारी रीडिंग्स आती है ना, वो भी लैपटॉप या फोन में आती है, तो हम वो उसमें पढ़ते हैं, तो और पढ़ते पढ़ते पता नहीं कब हमारा ध्यान व्हाट्सएप यूट्यूब इंस्टाग्राम पर पता ही नहीं चलता. तो सर उसके ऊपर हम कैसे अटेंशन बना के रख सकते हैं?
May I borrow that? इसको पहचानते हो? ये क्या चीज़ है? हाँ? नहीं पहचानते ना? हाँ. बुक है ना? इसमें यूट्यूब थोड़ी है. यूट्यूब नहीं है ना? इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूं ना, फोन को बाजू में रख, दूसरे कमरे में रख और जाके लाइब्रेरी में से एक बुक लेके आ और बुक के साथ रिश्ता बनाओ. ओके, जब आप पहली बार, थैंक यू सो मच, आप पहली बार जब स्कूल गए थे, कैसे गए? हंसते खेलते स्कूल में goes like that to school. लेकिन आदत हो जाती है ना, फाइनली स्कूल में आकर चलो मैं जा रहा हूँ स्कूल, बाय, एवरीवन सेज बाय. See, पढ़ने से you may not be interested in reading, but who asked you to be interested? तेरा इंटरेस्ट में किसको इंटरेस्ट है? मैं कह रहा हूं ये तेरा भविष्य के लिए है, करना है कर, नहीं करना है मर, मेरे को क्या. तेरे को जब नौकरी मिलेगा गूगल में, तू थोड़ी आके पैसा मुझे देने वाला है. तू अगर तेरे को नौकरी नहीं मिला तो मैं थोड़ी आंसू बहाने वाला हूं. वो फैसला आपका है. वो आप यूट्यूब में चले जाओ, यूट्यूब में रमो, खेलो. इसीलिए बाप दादे ने इतना मेहनत करके पीयू भेजा ताकि तू फोन लेके टिक 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 टॉक देखो, वट एवर यूट्यूब देखो. आई मीन सी, we live in a country which has simultaneously book shortage, book hunger, and book satiation. So my family is a middle class, privileged family. जब मैं किसी के बर्थडे पे जाता हूँ तो उन बच्चों के लिए मैं बुक लेके जाता हूँ. You should see the faces. Thank you uncle. Book. और एक book. Then someone comes with video game. Video game. You know what the greatest gift is, no, for children? Data. You give them 10,000 rupees worth of data, you are their friend for life. So I give books because I don't care. I'm going to give books. Okay? Now, people tell me, you have a question? Please.
So my question is regarding Indian education system.
That is my jawab. Poor babies. मैं आपका हमदर्द हूँ. I understand. मैं भी इसी राह पे चलते आया हूँ. मेरे पीठ पे स्कार्स है ये सिस्टम की वजह से. But tomorrow your sister is going to get married. और एक बंदा आता है जो 8वीं पास है और एक दूसरा बंदा आता है जो MBA किया है. Who are you going to marry your sister to? 8वीं पास. हमारे दिमाग में हायरार्कीज है. Okay, and this hierarchy is the biggest झूठ. Okay, sorry, the mic. I'll let you ask the question. It is not the university. It is not the teacher. It is the student. If the student works hard, it doesn't matter which college and which university. कोई पूछने वाला नहीं है. No one asks me which university I came from, which college I came from. It doesn't matter. उस यूनिवर्सिटी का फायदा आप उठा रहे हो कि नहीं? Are you harassing your teachers to explain a little more to you? Are you pushing them? एक क्लास, हर क्लास एक एनर्जी एक्सचेंज होती है. If you come like Marela Murgis and sit there, the teacher also becomes a Marela Murgi. Everyone is dead. Okay? If you come with enthusiasm, with jigyasa, with desire to know, then suddenly the class takes fire. You're part of the class. You're part of the system. And तेरे को क्या चाहिए? Marks. Marks. Nothing else. So we are all part of the system. Now we have to break out. Okay? So now ask your question. But याद रहे, बहन की शादी MBA के साथ. तो तेरा पल्ला भारी नहीं है. हिस्ट्री ऑनर्स के बाद MBA करो.
So it is like a system in which books are not changed from last many years, but the things are changing rapidly.
Absolutely.
And which do not provide you the opportunity to think out of box. How can we promote reading culture among the kids? I have tried something like that. I used to run a community library in my area where I used to work with the underprivileged
Seriously, no, really. Bhagwan
children
ka
of the
kaam.
society to promote the reading culture. Through activities, we used to read books and do the things. But in longer terms, it was not successful.
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Okay. Good question, thank you. And I'm so glad you did that. I'm so glad you did that community library. Now, okay, डेढ़ सारे बच्चे आएंगे. Eventually, one of them will become successful. 2, 3, 10. 10,000 came, but 10 are successful. The question you have to ask is, so university बंद कर दे, सिर्फ 10 succeed हो गए? No. The question you have to ask yourself is, the system is kharab. Okay? The books have not been changed, nothing has been changed, but never before in the history of our universe have young people had so much access. So much access to the latest information, to the latest news, to the latest data, to the latest scientific journals. It's all there, and you are on Instagram watching someone doing mataks. That's your choice. Don't blame the system. The system is part of a certification. Tomorrow you have to hire a secretary. कोई आएगा 6th standard pass. कोई आएगा MA pass. Who will you hire? MA pass. Why? बैठा और लिखा 3-3 घंटे. इतना तो कर सकता है तो मेरे साथ काम भी करेगा. That's what everyone thinks. You think employers do not know that you were searching for other people's notes? They know because they were searching for other people's notes also in their time. Okay? We all know this. Okay? It doesn't stop. So I am saying your university degree is important. You never forget that. You finish it. But as you are doing that university degree, if you are also preparing your mind, suppose you are a literature student. There are literature students here, right? So what is your text? What are you studying? Give me a text you're studying. याद नहीं है अभी.
We are studying drama now.
Which drama?
Broken images. Broken images.
Broken Images. By whom?
Girish Karnad.
Girish Karnad. Suppose you, instead of just reading Broken Images, you also read Tughlaq. You also read Hayavadan. You also read Mohan Rakesh's plays. You also read Badal Sarkar's plays. And you suddenly started talking in class about, ma'am, do you think Badal Sarkar had the same idea in Boma as Broken Images? Suddenly your teacher is looking at you differently. Suddenly your mind is working differently. But we will stick with Broken Images. Text है ना ये Broken Images. So हम यही करेंगे. बस. That is our job. You can form, okay, drama. the best way to learn drama is act it. Make a reading group among your students and sit down and read the play aloud. Thoda acting bhi karo. She cried. And see how it gets alive inside your body. Okay, when I went to college, I went to SSC school. SSC school means state board school. Okay, like state board school, meaning it was a kharab school. It was like the library was 30 books in one cupboard. हमारे प्राइमरी सेक्शन और सेकेंडरी सेक्शन के बीच में शमशान था, ग्रेवयार्ड. Okay, जहाँ मुर्दे गधे जाते थे. Like they would bury people there in the middle and we would all be standing at the windows looking out hoping that skeletons would come out. कभी नहीं दिखा. But anyway, so that was my school. I went to college, Elphinstone, and there were all these ICSE people there. They had studied Shakespeare. So I got very upset that they had studied Shakespeare and I had not. So I decided I would read Shakespeare. And they had studied one play. I would read all the plays. So one summer, I took out the collected works of William Shakespeare from my father's library and started reading play after play. It was so boring. So boring. And then my mother passed by, the mother who had the mental problem, and she said to me, how can you read a play like that on the page? You have to act it. So I said, let's act it together. So the four of us in our family took a Shakespeare play and read it to each other. And suddenly it was alive. Suddenly it was like, we were laughing actually. What is to stop you from making this time into an exciting mind game time? The only thing that's stopping you is you. Nobody else. You choose not to do it. Then don't blame people. Mugdha will tell you, when I was at SCM, I arrived at SCM, which is like Social Communications Media, postgraduate diploma course. Okay? And they were doing all things in the classroom, nice, happily, like, we will have a press conference. I would take them and say, go do a press conference. Go to a real press conference. Write about it and come back. I gave them a beat area, very far off. Go there, make friends, talk to people, learn about the area. They hated it. They hated it. But in retrospect, they love it. What you hate in college, you will love later. Because that is what you were learning. And you were so sure you would never be able to do this. So sure. Like I had one student who had a panic attack. She couldn't breathe because I told her she has to go to Panvel to do her, like very far off. So you have to choose, yeah. It's difficult, but you have to choose. So system kharab hai, but I went to America last year. And one student stood up and said, in America, the system is so terrible. And I thought, tera bhi system kharab, to hum jaye kahan? We will now have to go to Mars. Shanti Niketan bhi band ho gaya. In 1776, when America was formed, it was in the next 100 years, the struggle for America's soul was waged between English and German. German was a very powerful language in America. French was not very powerful. It had some bits in Canada and some bits in Louisiana, New Orleans, that side. But it wasn't a player. French wasn't a player. And at the same time, remember, what language do you think Count Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, what language do you think the characters are speaking to each other in the original? French. Because the upper class in Russia spoke French. In Japan, the upper class spoke Chinese. And they had to fight for Japanese to be brought back. Right? So, there is a politics of language which operates across the world. How can you fight it? You fight it. What's your mother tongue? What's your mother tongue?
Marathi.
What's your mother tongue? What's your mother tongue?
Hindi.
Awadhi. Bhojpuri. Awadhi. There, look at this line. We are here. This is Matrabhasha, home language. You can fight the good fight for your home language. Buy the books by those writers. Read them. Talk about them to friends. ये पढ़ा क्या? मराठी में नया book, नया किताब निकला. You can do the work. The government will do its work. My Matrabhasha, Konkani, is one of the few languages that is written in 5 scripts. It is written in Romi, it is written in Kannada, it is written in Nagari, it is written in Nastaliq, that is the Urdu script, and it is written in Malayalam. 5 scripts for one language. This is the same language that the Portuguese dealt with severely. They banned the speaking of Konkani in public places. The British never did that with any Indian language. On the other hand, the British were so interested in the languages that they wrote first many of the dictionaries and many of the grammars in the Indian languages. Okay? Konkani suffered these body blows that the Portuguese colonizer would not allow a mother to sing a lullaby to her child in Konkani in her bedroom. And Konkani is survived. And people are reading it. I am translating from it. Boy Unloved by Damodar Mauzo, I translated from Konkani. It is my salute to my Matrabhasha. What is your salute to your Matrabhasha? How many books do you own in that language? You own personally. How much have you invested in supporting a writer somewhere by buying a book of his or hers or theirs? Everything we want the government to do. हम तो कुछ नहीं करने वाले. हम तो बस बोलने वाले कि भाई ये तो बहुत खराब है, कोई अवधि में नहीं लिख रहा है आजकल. लेकिन हम तो अवधि पढ़ नहीं रहे हैं. हम तो खड़ी बोली बोल रहे हैं. हम तो प्रेमचंद जी पढ़ रहे हैं. हमें एहसास भी नहीं है कौन अवधि में क्या लिख रहा है. तो अवधि cannot live. We cannot have a government saline and glucose drip for a language. If the language is not in your mouth, if the language is not in your ears, if the language is not something you speak every day, वो मर जाएगी. वो भाषा मरने वाला है. Then don't talk to me about politicization, क्योंकि काम तेरा है. तू संभाल. ये अमानत तेरे को मिला है. 1537 languages. सोच ले. Take out a 50 rupee note. दुनिया में ऐसा कौन सा नोट है जिसपे 8 स्क्रिप्ट्स हो? 8. That's our amanat. And what do? Spotify. Tu kar le. Then don't come crying that the languages are dying. No language has ever lived on political sustenance. It has lived because it is used and it lives in the hearts and minds of the users. Question. We'll come back to you if no one else has a question. या उसी को mic दे दे. Sir.
What prompted you to write Balut?
I didn't write Balut. I translated it.
Translated, and how was your experience? Because Balut itself.
See, in the process of Balut, he talks about the fact that this language is not Punekari Marathi. Punekari Marathi is Brahminical Marathi. I have also translated Narayan Surve, who has a wonderful poem where he says, hey Punekars, I am going to do a little masti with the language now. Okay? And that is actually the places where language gets revived. Okay? Balut is Mahar. It is Dalit. When I first encountered this text, it was in this magnificent book called Poisoned Bread by Arjun Dangle, a collection of modern Marathi writings. Brilliant text. Enjoyed reading it. When I and Naresh Fernandez were putting together Bombay Meri Jaan, writings about Mumbai, I hate to say this, but you do these things when you're an anthologist. You say, हमारे दलित भाई कहाँ हैं? Where are the voices from the Dalits? Because ये शहर तो दलितों ने भी बनाया है, बसाया है. They've worked in the mills, they've done the labor. Why don't we have Dalit voices? So we have a Surve, Narayan Surve, and we have a अपना Daya Pawar, and I think we have a Baburao Bagul story. Okay, so we have representation. What we didn't have was, now I think about it, woman Dalit representation. We should have done that also. But सब कुछ तो नहीं सोच सकता है. Now when I did that, I was told Baluta is being translated now. So I thought, okay, very good. And then about 20 years later, someone said, Bombay बहुत बदल चुका है. Why don't you do another anthology? या यही anthology फिर से देखो. What pieces are? So I thought, I just took Sun Eat Your Fill, that chapter, from Arjun Dangleji's book, and I put it in my book. This is lazy, I should read the whole book. So I called up my friend Shanta Gokhale and I said, Balut has been translated yet? She said, no. And I said, can I translate it? And she said, you? With an exclamation mark, not with a question mark. And when someone says, you, and is inviting you, saying, wow, what a good idea, you feel so much better and you can move forward. That's, I think, what teachers have to do. We have to push our students by saying, of course you can do this. Okay, so happily I started translating it. It was wild. Daya Pawar was a voracious reader. As a child, people would say if a piece of paper has fallen in shit, he will pick it up and read it still, because he's so fond of reading. But he says, reading introduced me to a world where I never saw myself. There were no Dalits in fiction. There were only Brahmins and Banyas. And so, at the beginning of Balut, he has to divide himself into two Daya Pawars, one of whom is saying to the other, क्यों लिख रहे हो ऐसे? Why are you doing this disservice to our community, talking about us like this? Don't do this. And the other one's encouraging himself and saying, I have to. I must put down my story. And I read this and I was so deeply moved. Because all my life, my kind of person, Roman Catholic Goan, had turned up in Bollywood cinema as Rosie, Lily, and Michael Daru Pikar Dhanda Karta Hai. Michael Pinto. Robert, okay, the smuggler. That wasn't who we were. There were some of us who were smugglers, some of us who were Miss Lilies, don't be sillies, of course, but there were other people as well. So I understood what it meant to be marginalized. And I felt that if I could do something to bring this book to other people, I should. But I'm so stupid. I thought so many more people are going to be reading Balut. When it came out, 25,000 copies were printed. December 25, 1978. By January, they were gone. Because my bhai log, my Angrezi wale, read so little, we haven't hit 25,000 copies of Balut in English even now, 10 years later. Because people don't buy books. You all have given up the habit of buying books. So, कहाँ से sustenance होगा writers का? एक ज़माने में मैं जिम जाया करता था. I used to go to the gym. Can you imagine? Okay. And gym में खास करके there is this dhinchak music. Na dun 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 is going on in the background. Okay. तो एक दिन मेरे gym में music system खराब हो गई थी. And I was stuck on one treadmill, and on the other treadmill was Neela Bhagwat ji, who is Gwalior Gharane ki mashhoor gaika. But she is also a socialist. So I could say to her, Neela, there's no music, sing something. And she began to sing Mungi Udali Akashi. Okay? Yeah? And the thing about Hindustani or Carnatic class music is that lines are sung again and again. So you can actually sit and think, ye Mungi Udali Akashi means an ant flew into the sky. Tine gilile suryanshi. She swallowed the sun. What does that mean? An ant flew into the sky, she swallowed the sun. So I imagine the first time this singing is happening, I imagine Muktabai going down gently and picking up black ant, closing one eye and eclipsing the sun. Mungi udali akashi, tine gilile suryashi. She swallowed the sun. Or I'm thinking maybe Muktabai saw a solar eclipse, like a black ant's head eating the sun. Or maybe it was just God. जब भगवान प्रकट होता है, it feels like you have swallowed the sun. Sunlight and lava burning through you. Each line is like that. Each line I'm listening to and I'm thinking, my God, what is this music that I've never heard? Vinsu patalashi zai. The scorpion burrows into hell. And what exactly is the scorpion? Obviously scorpions go underground. And then I'm in Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh. 5 years later, and I see that on the thigh of a woman in lust is carved a scorpion to show that she is in lust. And what Muktabai then is saying becomes clear to me. She's saying, desire abandons you. Vinsu patala shizai. You are cleared of desire. I'm listening to this song, and at the end of it, I turn to Neela and I say, I want to read more of these songs. Surely they've been translated. And she says, no one has translated them. So I say, let's do it together. You and I, let's do it together. And I've said this to 100 people. I sit with my friend Saif Mahmood. He will tell me some wonderful sher that someone in the 19th century wrote. And I say, Saif, you and I, we'll translate like 100 Urdu poems you should know together. And he says, done deal. And then he vanishes and never comes back. Then I tell my friend Prabodh Parikh, he will read me a Gujarati poem. And I'll say, chal, let's do Gujarati poems together. I understand very little Gujarati, but you can do it. We'll work on it together. And he says, oh, we must do this. He also vanishes. But when you ask a woman, they come through. 3 weeks later, Neela Bhagwat is at my door. She lives in Mahim, I live in Mahim. Holding 50 poems, saying, chal, shuru karte hain. And here is a poem which I am going to do from my collection called An Ant Swallowed the Sun and other poems, the Marathi poets in Warkari. Tu kharidega na, I'll beat you. You read them in Marathi. This is for people who don't know Marathi. First came joy, and on the morrow, hard on her heels, a visit from sorrow. Just as we settle down to grieving, sorrow announced that she was leaving. Joy and sorrow, what's the difference? Both are sisters, born of ignorance. Muktai tells Sangya, self-born the soul, standing like a banyan, erect and whole. That's the women. As I began to read these women, Kanho Patra, Soirabai, Muktabai, Zanabai, whole worlds opened out. Worlds of feminine rage and love. What anger they talk to God with. I will drag your body through the marketplace, she tells Vithala. Because she is allowed Nindastuti, where you talk to the God with such personal and intimate love that it allows hatred also and anger. This is your tradition. You own this tradition. You allowed someone to take it from you and make it a male tradition of war and anger and hatred. Take it back. Take back your tradition of deep love. Take it back. Save us. Read your texts. People tell me, when you're doing translation, so much is lost. And I say, I'll tell you about Jesus Christ, who is my Ishta Devata and the person whom I've grown to have a relationship. We have not one word Jesus spoke during his lifetime in the original language he spoke in. Not one word. He spoke in Aramaic. He didn't even speak in Hebrew. He was translated into Greek. Three of the people who translated him did not know Greek. So they wrote bad Greek. From Greek it has been translated into Latin. From Latin it was translated into English. And that is how I read it. And still I have a relationship. What is not lost in translation? Lost in translation, chhod yaar. What is found in translation? God is found in translation. I found my God in an alien language, to the one that he spoke. दादी माँ ने जब बताया था भगवान के बारे में, संस्कृत में बताई, translation. At the bottom of every act of language is an act of translation. What starts, as the biology students will tell you, as an electrochemical reaction in the synapses of your brain, where neurotransmitters are carrying small bursts of energy from neuron to neuron and charging up your brain cells, you must take that electrical energy and put it into words. That's translation. Then the words go out into the world, and each person receives the words and understands them differently. That's translation. Everything we do comes down to translation and how much we have found in translation. Thank you so much.